Hello and welcome. Live from Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria, you're watching Newsroom series. I'm Dominic Iwiwa, and today our focus would be on the North-Central region. But before we get into that, let's have a snippet of our top stories making the rounds at the moment. The nationwide strike by nurses and midwives under the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives has entered its second day, disrupting emergency and routine services in government hospitals across the country. The Labour Minister, Mohammed Dingyadi, met with the union leaders in Abuja, appealing for them to suspend the strike and return to negotiations, for talks are scheduled to continue on Friday at the Ministry of Health. On Channels Television's Sunrise Daily, the chairman of the association's federal health sector, Morayinko Olajide Rilwan, said the government has failed to gazette their scheme of service after 10 years despite repeated engagements. Mr. Rilwan stressed that the association has exhausted all dialogue avenues and insists the strike will continue until the government acts on their demands.
The circular that was released in June that reviewed the health professional salary, which we felt it didn't capture the interests of Nigerian nurses, and we have to call for the withdrawal of that circular and go back to our demands, because the association was not consulted when before that circular and the increment was drafted. So we gave them 15 days ultimatum from Monday, 14th of July, which elapsed yesterday, 29th of July, before we are embarking on this 7-day warning strike. So we've given government enough time to respond to our demands, but government actually didn't come forward to do that. It's not actually in the nurses' attitude to embark on strike. And we have been patient enough because we are compassionate. Nurses are empathetically with their patients. We love our patients. We don't have anything to happen to them. But we waited for long for all these demands to come into reality. So this strike is happened to be the last option we have. Number one, we're talking about the scheme of service for nurses that was approved by Council of Establishment since 2016. And we'll be calling for this scheme of service to be gazetted by government, but up till date, which is 10 years after, the scheme of service is yet to be gazetted. The coordinating minister of health invited the leadership, they met, and the meeting is still inconclusive. So the meeting probably is going to continue either today or Friday. We have to make sure that part of the demands are attended to before we can suspend strike at all.
Meanwhile, the Yobe State chapter of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives has yet to join the 7-day nationwide strike declared by the union. A visit by Channels Television to the specialist hospital in Damaturu and some primary healthcare centers showed nurses attending to patients as usual. Some nurses told Channels Television they were unaware of the strike and had not received any directive from the association. Efforts to get comments from the association's leaders in Yobe were unsuccessful as they declined to speak on the matter. We start off in Kogi State, where there's also been affected by the nationwide strike by nurses and midwives. Members of the National Association of the Nigerian Nurses and Midwives have stopped work, disrupting emergency and regular medical services in government hospitals. This comes despite government appeals for them to return to duty. Hospitals struggle as services disrupted despite government appeals. For more on the ongoing strike, we're being joined now by the Chairman, National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, Kogi State, Mr. Suleiman Bako, who joins us from Lokoja to get an update on the strike. Thank you for joining us at this time. All is now set for the judgment in the murder case of a final year student of the Kwara State College of Education in Ilorin, Hafsa Lawal, who was allegedly gruesomely killed by an Islamic scholar, Abdurrahman Bello, on February the 10th this year. Present alongside the prime suspect, Abdurrahman Bello, are 4 others who have been mentioned and tried as accomplices to the crime. Hafsa was allegedly murdered by Abdurrahman Bello, who reportedly dismembered her body and preserved her palms in a bucket in his apartment. The High Court in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, is now full to capacity as Pressman, family of the slain and accused await the judgments to be delivered by Justice Hannah Ajayi. In what appears to be a strong statement of commitment to gender equity and public health, Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak has launched the domestication of the National Women's Economic Empowerment Policy, the first in North-Central Nigeria. At the same time, his wife, Ambassador Lufolake Abdulrazak, is leading grassroots efforts to raise awareness on the dangers of measles and rubella, urging local leaders to mobilize for an upcoming vaccine campaign.
State is making headlines with a policy designed to tear down barriers that have long prevented women from rising into leadership positions and accessing financial support. Stakeholders are hailing this as a major victory for women's empowerment, calling it a game changer in the state's development agenda.
Measles and rubella are diseases that should have no place in our community in this modern age. Yet, they remain a threat, especially to our most vulnerable children and pregnant women. It is a collective responsibility for us. This is why our role here today is not only symbolic, it is vital, and we are the trusted voices in our community, and also our active participation can change mindsets and encourage timely vaccination. At the Kwara State House of Assembly, headed by Right Honorable Engineer Sali Yakubu Danladi, we are proud to stand with you in this fight for better health outcomes.
At the official launch of the National Women's Economic Empowerment Policy in the state, Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak reaffirmed his administration's commitment to breaking barriers hindering women from rising to the peak of their careers.
Today is another call to action and a reminder that sustainable development and shared prosperity can only be built on inclusive and equitable opportunities for all, meaning all gender. Kwara State has set a national benchmark in gender mainstreaming with historic achievements like the 2021 Political Office Holders Bill, that's Gender Composition Bill, mandating at least 35% women in appointed position, and a cabinet that once comprised of 56% women.
At the grassroots, First Lady Olufolake Abdulrazak is leading a vigorous campaign to safeguard mothers and children from the threats of measles and rubella.
Today's event no doubt highlights the critical importance of economic empowerment in advancing gender equality and women's rights. It also presents a renewed hope and progress for women across the state, demonstrating the transformative power of targeted interventions aimed at unlocking economic opportunities and fostering inclusive growth.
With proactive leadership and community-driven action, Kwara's vision for inclusive development is not just a promise, it's unfolding in real time.
Troops under Operation Wellstroke have killed an armed bandit and seized weapons during a clearance operation in Maragba, Bagyo, Benue State. Acting on credible intelligence, the troops engaged suspected armed criminals in a gunfight. One suspect was killed while others fled with gunshot wounds. Weapons recovered include 6 AK-47 magazines, live ammunition, locally made guns, and charms. The troops also destroyed criminal shrines in the area. The force commander, Major General Moses Gara, praised the troops for their bravery and professionalism, urging them to sustain efforts in restoring peace. General Garba called on residents to provide actionable information to help rid the state of criminal elements. The Benue state government has taken a major step towards industrial development as it takes delivery of machinery for the newly established food basket brewery as part of efforts to curb capital flight of over 1 billion naira spending on alcohol every month. The factory located at Akile along the Makurdi-Boko Road is set to begin the brewing of assorted drinks with a projected 1,400 direct and indirect jobs to energize the state's economy.
The Benue state government has taken a significant stride in revitalizing its economy with the arrival of equipment for the newly established food basket brewery, an initiative aimed at curbing the state's monthly beer expenditure of over 1 billion naira spent outside its borders. The machines imported from China are the outcome of Governor Hyacinth Alia's investment trip to China. Installation starts soon, with production expected by October 2025.
We are bringing this state so that our people will have job in the state. Our people will have succum in the state. Our people will return the cash flow within the system. And that's the only thing that grows economy. We will not sit here and people come and produce their product and bring it to Benue and take our money. I want to thank the executive governor of Benue State and the management team and the ESCO for believing in us.
Officials say the brewery will help stabilize the economy, stop capital flight, and fulfill Governor Alia's promise to create jobs and boost local industries.
Most people believe in the ideology that government does not own a business. But when you delve into capitalism or when you are dealing with people who are very, very shrewd business owners, the government has to step in to stabilize the price and to help the people and prevent exploitation from the private sector.
To drive the economy of the state, we needed to bring up companies that will help us drive this economy. And that is why we have gone into the establishment of this brewery. You know that with this establishment, we'll be able to generate revenue, we'll be able to empower the people of the state, we'll create employment, and much more.
With equipment delivered, expectations are high that the brewery will soon become a major industrial hub in the state, attracting more investments and opportunities.
President Bola Tinubu has approved a one-year extension for the Comptroller General of Customs, Mr. Bashir Adewale Adeniyi. His tenure, which was to end on August 31, 2025, will now continue till August 2026. The presidency says the extension will allow Mr. Adeniyi to complete key reforms, including the modernization of the Nigeria Customs Service, the National Single Window Project, and Nigeria's commitments under AFCTA. President Tinubu commended Mr. Adeniyi's leadership and believes this extension will help the Customs Service improve trade, boost revenue, and enhance border security. Take you back to our very first story where we're covering the Kogi State's nationwide strike by nurses and midwives, as we're now being joined by the chairman, National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, Kogi State, Mr. Suleiman Bako, who joins us from Lokoja for an update on the strike. Thank you for joining us at this time.
Thank you for having me.
So let's just go straight to it. Now, good afternoon. What are the core demands of the association in this ongoing nationwide strike, and why has it reached this critical point?
Yeah, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to speak to the Nigerians about some of our demands before the federal government.
Okay.
Our demands are very clear. Our demands borders on the welfare of the Nigerian nurses as well as the health sector in this country, which it has not been working. However, before the government, we have the first thing, which is the gross shortage of manpower, especially the nurses in our health facilities. 2, the gazetting of the scheme of service for nurses in the civil service. 3, the dilapidated health facilities in this country. We're also talking about this is the only profession that does not have a director in the Ministry of Health. You can imagine a director answering to another director of hospital services. We are the only professional in the Federal Ministry of Health that does not have a direct link to the permanent secretary in the Federal Ministry of Health. We are also saying that the court in judgment that was passed in 2012 has not yet been honored. We are saying that the nurses in this country require, or we are in need of, separate allowances that are peculiar to nurses. And this has been a factor where many of our nurses are leaving this shore to other countries for greener pasture. You could recall that there is a report that over 3,000 nurses have left this country to developed countries in search of better remuneration, better working conditions, where we train our nurses in this country and we cannot render this quality of services to our people in this country. Enough is enough. We are telling the federal government, and we have met at different levels.
I guess we lost that. I guess we'll get back to him when we get connection. Now we move over to Plateau State, where the government is calling for stronger collaboration with the European Union and development partners to promote peace and improve infrastructure across the state. Governor Caleb Mutfwang made this known through the Commissioner for Information during a meeting with an EU delegation in Jos.
At the Government House in Jos, Plateau State officials hosted a European Union and Central Common Ground team seeking a closer relationship for peace building and infrastructural growth. The meeting marked the official closeout of the EU-funded I Renew project, which focused on promoting religious tolerance and peaceful coexistence in Plateau and Kaduna State. The representative of Governor Caleb Mutfwang emphasized the need to sustain the project's impact through continued collaboration and community-driven initiatives.
This administration has been very deliberate towards peace building and development in Plateau State. So these are measures that the governor is very concerned about, and he is very deliberate in his policies to ensure that we take the right process towards peace building on the plateau.
In another event, for Ruben Alba, the project will train hundreds of women and youths in conflict resolution and interfaith dialogue, empowering them to manage disputes peacefully.
The program is about bringing people together despite the differences, despite the challenges, despite the fact that resources are increasingly limited, to find solutions together. Through dialogue, but also through actionable solutions. And I think that Renew has shown that it is possible to bring communities and different groups, regardless of your tribe, regardless of your origin, your religious group, that we can all work together and we can make a long-lasting contribution.
The acting country director, SFCG, noted though the project is ending, its positive impact will continue through local efforts and community ownership.
At midpoint, when we carried out a midline evaluation on this project, we found that 100% of the sampled trained participants affirmed that they now have improved ability to positively impact on their communities. The growth of social cohesion and solidarity through activities like interfaith sports matches, environmental cleanup campaigns, and school sensitization programs were all led by the cohorts, and this brought together people of all faiths in a shared celebration of peace and unity.
Participants shared how the training equipped them with practical skills to mediate tensions and promote peace in their communities.
It has really sharpened my intellectual, because from the beginning, we were thinking we're not going to tolerate each other because of the division we have in Kaduna and in Plateau too. But with the coming up of search for common ground, we're able to know that tolerating each other's religion is the best thing we could do.
I have moved from the place of sympathy when it has to do with people of other faiths to empathy. And I've also moved from the level of tolerance to respecting people's religion.
The Plateau government reaffirmed its commitment to working with international partners to expand these efforts for lasting peace and development.
The governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer Abdullahi Sule, has flagged off the Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning and Empowerment Project School Improvement Grant to 490 public secondary schools in Nasarawa State. The grant is a large-scale infrastructure intervention under Component 1.2 of the Agile project designed to improve public secondary school infrastructure across the state. $9.7 million has been allocated for the renovation of 490 public schools, secondary schools across the 13 local government areas of the state, representing a major investment in the learning environment for adolescent girls. 331 schools will receive $15,000 and 159 schools will receive $30,000 to fund renovation of classrooms, construction of gender and disability-sensitive toilets, provision of school furniture, establishment of science laboratories, and supply of teaching and learning materials.
The project's main aim focus on adolescent girls ages between 10 and 20, especially those from vulnerable backgrounds who are at risk of dropping out of school. The project interventions include construction and rehabilitation of schools to improve access to quality secondary education, social and behavioral change, that is mobilizing support for girls' education and empowerment through advocacy, sensitization, and campaigns to mitigate demand-side constraints to education.
It is for this reason that this event is considered not only as a ceremony, but a public declaration of our sustained commitment to improving the quality of education of our children, particularly the adolescent girls in our state. The Agile project, therefore, provides us with a strategic opportunity to address the challenges of access, retention, and quality of girls' education at the secondary schools level. Today's flag off of the school's improvement grant represents the continuation of our tangible impact, as funds will be disbursed directly to eligible public secondary schools to upgrade infrastructure, provide essential learning materials, improve wash facilities, and create self-inclusive learning environment for our girls.
As part of efforts to ensure food security at the rural communities, about 200 farmers from Okpo in Olamgboro local government area of Kogi State have been trained in modern farming techniques on how to boost food productions in larger quantities. The representatives of the facilitator of the program, Mr. Bashiru Ella, stated this while addressing the farmers. According to him, the training is aimed at teaching the farmers on how to produce a large quantity of crops and how they can also preserve it for a longer period of time.
To boost food security in rural areas, the National Directorate of Employment has trained 200 farmers in Okpo Olamgboro local government area of Kogi State. The training focuses on modern farming methods to help them grow more food and store it for longer periods. The NDE team, led by Mr. Bashiru Ella, told the farmers to embrace new farming technologies like precision farming, hydroponics, and vertical farming to increase their yield.
If you are giving me something to benefit, let me take it to my people that are always standing beside me, that are always working with me. Let us share whatever the interest is.
This approach aims to produce large quantities of crops and livestock while minimizing resources, use, and environmental impact. Unlike traditional farming, which relies heavily on manual labor and natural cycles, modern farming leverages on data analytics, automation, and precision agriculture to optimize yield and reduce waste.
Some of the farmers expressed excitement about applying what they have learned to increase their productivity.
Very happy, very grateful for what God has done today, for what James Waleke has introduced through Honorable Bashiru Ella to Olamgboro local government of Kogi State.
I'm here making the training
And they lecture me. Part of the lecture, I went to my farm and try it and see. And by the grace of God, I'm going to get more farm by the grace of God, sir.
Certificates of attendance were presented to the farmers, while the distribution of modern farming equipment will follow after due documentation. The initiative is expected to transform subsistence farmers in the area into commercial producers, contributing to food security in Nigeria.
And that's where we drop the anchor on this edition of Newsroom Series. I'm Dominic. Enjoy the rest of your day.